to say the last few years in financial services has been sort of crazy would probably be an understatement. What would your observations as a compliance practitioner be in regards to all the changes that have happened and the impacts that they've had?
Yeah, okay. Look, my sort of high-level view is this. I reckon we've got too many regulators, okay? So they've gone over the top with a number of regulators. A lot of what's been put on the books is pretty misguided. That is, I think they're looking at the wrong things. Tax Practitioners Board being a classic case. But I also think it's really there's a very over-legalistic approach to all this. That is that, I think most people would accept a lot of what's produced is highly complex in terms of interpretation and figuring out how to fit it into a business. So bottom line, I think basically the process of developing policy and putting it in a sort of a logical, user-friendly way, I reckon that whole process is a bit broken.
Yeah, well, it's interesting in the sense that, allegedly this whole system that we've got now was built around consumer protection. So do you think it actually has delivered on consumer protection?
Well, I thought about this. At a high level, I reckon it has in a way, because of the requirement for the best interest duty, okay, imposing that, I reckon has been a positive, okay? I think that's been a good thing. At the deeper sort of detail level, there's just too much of this sort of gotcha stuff where you can get something technically wrong, get yourself in trouble. So at that level, I reckon it's been a fail. And so, because forcing compliance, ultimately forcing advisors to cull clients is not the way we should be going. That doesn't benefit the most people.
Yeah. And I think the point you make there is a good one. And with FOFA, and I know the best interest duty was sort of a bit of a controversial topic when they brought it in, and there was arguments to and fro and blah, blah, blah. But ultimately, at the end of the day, I mean, there is already established at law an obligation for advisors to act in regards to their clients. So to me, it wasn't such a big deal. And, you like to think that guys are doing that in any case. But I agree with the notion of, acting in your client's best interest is, it should be obvious, right?
It's obvious in most conversations I have with advisors, that's all they think about is how they can actually do stuff that's good for their clients.
Yep. But then all the little bits that go into it and all the other stuff, time you have to spend doing the other stuff, which arguably doesn't feed into advice that's in the client's best interest, that's where the whole system breaks down. I guess, is that the point that you were making?
Yeah. I think there's been a complete missed the point at the regulatory level when they've built these rules. They've sort of built a really clear case for best interest, just to remind people in a sense that's what the law says you've got to do. But now here it is in a statute, just so you've got a bit of guidance. But all the other guff, nearly all the other guff is extraneous, just superfluous stuff that doesn't serve that key objective. The key objective is the client in a better position? Is this helping the client? And we'll talk about stuff as we go through this chat, I suppose. But there's a few things that are obviously particularly pointless that don't serve that purpose.
Yeah, and that's obviously, that sort of thing feeds into the complexity of delivering advice, which then feeds into the cost.
Yes.
So it gets back to, ASIC as a regulator likes to focus on cost. It gets back to, if you're getting the same thing for more money, well, it's not necessarily in the client's best interest. If we can deliver that service to them at a much lower cost, surely that's got to be a good thing.
I agree. And the funny thing that I saw only a week or so ago was one of the leaders of the ASIC telling a Senate committee that they're struggling to understand this argument being put by the industry about there being too many costs imposed on advisors to deliver affordable advice to consumers. Well, I think if you care to take a deep look at what's imposed on advisors, you can see where the costs are, and a lot of those costs don't need to be there.
Yeah, I saw last week that ASIC's engaged some consultants to come in and tell them why this is the problem. And You know, I'm pretty sure, like everyone else in the industry, if you gave me 12 beers and a steak, I could probably save you a lot of time and money. But I understand they've got their process and they'll go through it. So let's see what they come up with.
Yeah, well, they know where I am if they want get a second opinion.